Gibson, Braveheart.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam and welcome back to Best Picture Month, a series I am way behind on, and I am very sorry about that. Life stuff, it happens. But I am back on. I just have a couple more movies to review this month in this series, so let's get cracking. Starting off with the winner for 1995 for Best Picture, Braveheart. This was directed by Mel Gibson. We all know who he is. It also starred him and is loosely based on the life of William Wallace, who in 13th century Scotland led a rebellion against the English, which were holding holding Scotland as their own territory and claiming it as their own. But William Wallace said, "Yeah, we're not going down without a fight." This is a movie that, from what I gauge, is pretty widely respected. However, there is a lot of people that basically don't like this movie for how inaccurate it is. This review is not going to be a review of how accurate or inaccurate this movie is to the life of William Wallace. I'm not a historian. I don't play one on television. I'm not here to do research. I'm just here to review the movie as it is presented. But basically, there's a lot of people that don't like this movie, not just for the Mel Gibson factor, but because of the fact that it is inaccurate in places. I liked this movie a lot, but I didn't really love it. Mel Gibson, though, to his credit, absolutely crushes, not just as William Wallace, but as the director of this movie. It turns out he initially wanted Terry Gilliam of Brazil fame to direct this one, but Gilliam turned it down. And so Mel Gibson took on that and then became the star. And initially, he didn't want to be the star. He wanted Brad Pitt to be the star. However, it ultimately fell to Gibson. And to his credit, he does a really good job here. He's not only he not only plays the character well, but he has a nice like physical performance too. There's a lot of battles and such, and he owns every scene. It like the peak of this movie is when there's a battle going on, especially the battle near the middle of the movie, and it starts off with the epic speech of "They may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom," and everyone raises their staff and they're like, "Yeah!" and like at the top of their lungs. There's a lot of character actors in here as well, like faces that you would recognize, but names you would just never pick out, like Angus McFadden, for example. But Brian Cox is in this movie, and Brendan Gleeson is here too. So there's a really decent cast, and they all work really well together. Like I said, this movie is on when it's battle stuff, and the battles in this movie are genuinely epic. Like this movie it gets it gets violent, all right, and your mileage is definitely going to vary. I've seen Hacksaw Ridge and I've seen Apocalypto, two other Mel Gibson films, so I knew what to expect, and Braveheart doesn't get to the level of something like, say, Hacksaw Ridge, but there are definitely some moments where I'm just like, they were allowed to get away with this in 1995, and sure enough, I guess they were. I mean, enough to win Best Picture. If I had to have a problem with the movie, is that it's too long. The movie is not exactly 3 hours long. It's 178 minutes, which is 2 hours 58. And I still think it could have been a little bit here, a little bit there. It feels very much like a slog at times. Like they paint William Wallace out to be a guy who just wants to be a farmer and like, okay, I can get behind that, but they kind of spend a little bit too much time like having meeting his wife and getting married, and then his wife dies, and that seems pretty good, but it's a lot of build up to that. And then he finally is like, okay, I will lead my people against the British, and it takes longer than you would want to for a movie like this to be like just get to the point, please. But really, though, when this movie does focus up and focuses on the general thesis, it is really good. Like I said, violence is definitely high, and your mileage is going to vary, especially with the ending, which, I mean, all this ending. I won't spoil it, but let's just say the only thing that was missing from this ending was Jim Ross going, "As God is my witness, he is broken in half." Or in this case, torn in four. Also, I found it a bit funny that, or not funny, but like weirdly coincidental that Mel Gibson is like stretched out like this, almost crucified of sorts. I was just thinking to myself, I wonder if Gibson was thinking to himself, in just about a decade, I think I can find a guy named Jim Caviezel and really make this mean something even more. That being said, though, I'm gonna give this a great rating. It's not a full amazing. The movie is too long, but when it is focused up, I did really get into it. Should this have won Best Picture? I personally don't think so. Again, and I'm not going to do a compare and contrast thing. However, I just out of curiosity took a look at what else was nominated in 95, and among the ones nominated was Apollo 13. Apollo 13 is one of my favorite space movies. Apollo 13 should have won because that movie is all killer no filler. But Braveheart won, and I'm not necessarily complaining, though Apollo 13 is a bit better. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of Braveheart? Let me know in the comments. I would love to read what you have to say. And coming up next, I will be taking a look at another first time watch. Braveheart was a first time watch, and this will be another first time watch. It is No Country for Old Men.